Hello, fellow grave crawlers, and welcome to ZTV Reviews. I am Paper Zombie, your host with you as always. And on today's show, we're going to be talking about the 5th episode of It, Welcome to Derry. So let's get right into it, because boy, do we have some action in this episode. Spoilers incoming. Now that he knows the location of It's prison, General Shaw wastes no time in getting things prepared to storm the house on Neibolt Street. But he gets a surprise visit from Rose, who's found out about Daniel's detainment and wants to know some answers. Rose holds some sway over General Shaw because she did save his life all those years ago, and she did tell him the truth about it, as well as her tribe's role as protectors. That's why General Shaw tells Rose the truth about the plan to capture and leash it. Rose thinks that General Shaw is outside of his mind for trying to do this. But once she finds that she can't sway him, she convinces him to allow Daniel to escort the troops to the pillars, since he knows how to use the shard to protect them. This leads to the assault on Neibolt Street. As a team that includes Daniel, Leroy, Polly, and Dick is sent in to do the job. And as soon as that team gets into the sewers and starts the search, It goes to work on them immediately. The first one It wants is Dick, because he's got something that It can use to its advantage. A mental lockbox containing the bad shines that Dick has locked away. It wants the mental lockbox open because it will not only provide an excellent source of fear to feed from, but it will also allow It to grow stronger. It manages to succeed in its task, unlocking Dick's mental lockbox and freeing the first bad shine that Dick ever locked away, his grandfather, Andy Holleran. Known as Black Grandpa due to the color of his soul, this dude abused Dick mentally, physically, and sexually. He forced Dick into secrecy by threatening to hand him over to a child-snatching monster named Charlie Manx, which, for those who don't know, is the main villain of Nosferatu, a novel by Stephen King's son, which was also an AMC series. After Black Grandpa dies, Rose, or White Grandma, because of the color of her soul, learns of Black Grandpa's atrocities against Dick when Black Grandpa's nude and sexually explicit spirit begins to haunt his grandson. Thus, she teaches Dick the technique to lock Black Grandpa away. But now that Black Grandpa is out, it's no telling what this means for Dick and everyone else involved. The assault goes bust when the majority of the Air Force team falls victim to It. Daniel tries to cheat by having planned to lead the team in, let It get them, then escape by using the shard. But that mission fails when he falls under fire by one of the team's members and drops the damn shard while fleeing. So Daniel and that airman's fates are the only ones that we don't know about. When it comes to Leroy and Polly, It messes with Leroy first by appearing as a vision of Charlotte that only he can see. Already told to take out anything he sees that's out of the ordinary, and knowing that Charlotte has got no business being in that sewer, Leroy is like,
ここですか?
This causes it to drop its ruse and flee. But little does Leroy know that this is a setup. For what? Well, let's just say that our kids get to play a major role in this episode. New to the crew after her eye-popping experience is Marge. She's been a background player since the first episode and was Lily's only friend outside of Maddie. Lily tried to tell Marge about her earlier experiences with It, but of course, Marge didn't believe until she got to see for herself. Along with Marge is Maddie? Yeah. Talk about a very unexpected surprise. It seems that Maddie, of whom we technically never saw die, has been alive this whole time, held captive in its lair. Seems that it likes to keep a continuous source of fear near itself, which would explain all the floating bodies we see around the lair, given that it is supposed to devour its victims. Maddie managed to escape while it slept, and managed to make it to the group's little hideout, which was shown to him before the events of the pilot episode by Teddy and Phil. Speaking of Teddy and Phil, Maddie reveals that Teddy is dead, bought in as such. But Phil is still alive, though disabled. This sparks Lily's drive to initiate a rescue mission, because if they can rescue Phil and have him tell the truth, how can Chief Bowers and the rest of the adults continue to deny? This leads our children down into the sewers under Maddie's direction to Phil's location. But upon arrival, the truth is discovered. Teddy, Susie, and Phil are all dead. And so is Maddie. Yep. It used his form all this time just to fool the kids and lead them straight into a trap. And when I say it, yes. With that mental lockbox busted open, it finally takes on the visage we all know and have been waiting for since the start. The kids see this mess, and they're like, "Go!" But Lily does the classic trip and fall over an invisible bump maneuver and gets left behind. Remember that setup I talked about before? Remember how Leroy knows to take out anything he sees that's not ordinary? Uh-huh. Yep. But Polly comes in with the saving throw, as he can see the kids, whereas he couldn't see Charlotte. But he knows that Leroy is about to pull the trigger. So Polly dives in the way to catch the single bullet that Leroy fires, stopping Leroy from doing something that would have easily led to him turning that same weapon on himself afterward. Sending the kids on their way out, Leroy grabs Polly's body and carries him out, unknowingly leaving Lily in the clutches of it. But just before it is about to turn her into a Happy Meal, a light. The shard that Daniel dropped managed to find its way to where she's cornered, and sends it retreating back into the shadows. And Dick? Well, let's just say he sees Polly's ghost upon his exit from the sewers. And that can be a good thing or a bad one. We also get an update on the situation between Charlotte and Hank. I'm not sure if Charlotte was able to do anything for Hank, because the show didn't say, but we do see him getting shipped off to Shawshank. And during, Charlotte catches a glimpse of something unexpected. Yeah, she can see it too. And guess what? On the way to Shawshank, the bus is attacked by some unknown creature, which kills everybody on the bus except for Hank. Hank manages to find his way back to town, and we finally find out who the woman is that he's been seeing on the slide. Mrs. Kirsch. Now, if that name sounds familiar, it ought to, as Mrs. Kirsch is the woman that Beverly will visit in the future. So we'll see where things go next episode. But in closing, I am disappointed that Maddie wasn't really alive. That would have been a bomb little twist to have had him actually survive. Being held captive that long could have let Maddie learn some things about it, like how it likes fear. And he could have learned to control his, which would have explained how he managed to escape. They could have also used Maddie to be our doorway for himself and the other kids to learn that their optimism, imagination, unity, and belief gives them a power against it. Like how Silver was able to hurt it just because they believed it. And like how in the 1990s miniseries, where the kids used Eddie's inhaler to give themselves protection, and then turned around to use it as a weapon to spray battery acid into its face. Like, that would have been a perfect opportunity to get into that. But it looks like that opportunity will be missed. Alright, till next episode, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.